Jacob Banks inntar scenen, så skal vi få møte biologen som fikk tilnavnet The Human Swan, etter at hun gjennomførte det David Attenborough kaller et inspirerende vågestykke. Å fly 700 mil i en motorisert paraglider sammen med flere tusen svaner fra Sibir til Syd-England. Se på dette. Welcome, Sacha.
Thank you.
Okay, let's... And this is the obvious question. What made you decide to fly in a paramotor from Siberia to the south of England?
Yeah.
Across, I think, 11 countries?
Yeah.
With a lot of swans?
Well, it sounds a bit strange now, but a few years ago, we just realised that the population of swans was declining really quickly. And we were at a point where they had been declared endangered in Europe. And we needed to find out what was going wrong and where. And the most obvious thing seemed to go and fly with them. The problem was, up on the first bit of their migration, there's no people, no towns, no nothing. And no runways, so you couldn't really go up there with an ordinary aircraft. So in a paramotor, I can take off and land on my feet. So,
but you were quite used to flying. I mean, you were used to this paramotor thing.
Yes. So I actually started flying paragliders because I had a horrible flight in Panama once and became petrified of any kind of flying. So to train myself to get over that, I learned to fly a paraglider because it's really simple. All it has is lines and a fabric wing, so you can check every single bit of it and you can feel the air all the time. So I started that and then realised if you put a motor on your back, then you can go anywhere. You don't have to go just where the winds are right. And, yeah.
But swans, what kind of creature do they think you are up there?
Well, we really didn't know what they would think. But the thing is, I wasn't trying to fly directly next to the particular swans. My main route was to follow 6 swans that had GPS collars on them. And they all had names. They were Eileen, Daisy, Clark, and various others. Eileen spent a lot of time in Sweden, actually, in the south.
Yeah, because you have GPS on them. But, I mean, migrating, you have thousands of swans,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
there are... Not at the same time? Or...
No, they all fly in small family groups. So my main aim was just to fly the route at the same time that they do, so I can tell people the story of the swans. But whilst they are basically migrating between the big wetland sites en route, my job was to stop and talk to all the people and find out things like why they're being shot at and where, because 1 in 3 of them has got lead shot in their bodies. So I was trying to just stop and land with people and talk to people as much as possible.
And first of all, these are not the normal swans that we see in, like, parks.
They're not the swan that you call a knob swan because it's got something like a knob swan with
This is not the aggressive type.
No, they're about half the size. They're also white. But they're migratory. Every year they go between Russia and England.
But what if you have to land? I mean, let's say you're out of fuel, okay? And you have to land, and there is nowhere to land. Where do you land if you only have like, trees?
You land wherever you have to land. So I did... One of the parts of flying a paramotor is that you have to be aware that your motor could fail at any time. So you're always looking for where can I go? If your motor fails, you just land in the nicest spot. So there were big stretches of Russia where it was just thick forest everywhere. I'd only been given permission to fly across a certain part. And then my only landing option was trees. So I'm just looking for which is the most comfortable tree to accidentally land in if you need to. So
that must hurt quite a lot.
It never happened. So
what about food and everything? You brought everything with you, or did you kind of, oh, that's a nice cafe down there?
Well, big parts of it were across Europe, so there were plenty of nice cafes. In the north of Russia, to be honest, it was tundra, so there were cranberries and fish and berries and reindeer breeders. People told me I wouldn't be able to see or find the nomadic communities because you can't tell where they are before you leave. But when you're at 1,000 feet and you're looking at the tundra where there's no buildings and no development, you can see a tiny little teepee from miles off, so I was able to go and land with people up in the north.
So you're this frozen person coming from the sky, landing from the sky.
With people.
Did people receive you like relaxed and normal? And
So, yeah, believe it or not, there was kind of one of the theories of how it would work. So we basically needed to bring a whole load of different people into trying to help us save the swans, because it's no good conservationists talking to each other again and again and again. So I needed to go and talk to hunters, farmers, reindeer breeders, everybody that we could possibly find.
And hunters is a big part of the problem.
Yeah, like 1 in 3 birds have got shot in them, and lead poisoning is a really big issue. Birds, about 1 in 4 probably dies of lead poisoning from eating gunshot, but it's used across most of the flyway by different people. So I just needed to go and talk to people and find out, is this happening here? And see if people were up for helping us try and solve it. But the nice thing with landing in the parachute is that, with my paraglider, is that a lot of people think I must have fallen from something because there's a kind of a parachute thing. And people's instant reaction is, oh my God, where have you come from? Isn't it dangerous? And how can we help? And usually they drag me inside and give me a cup of tea or swan soup or whatever it happened to be.
Of course you got swan soup.
I probably, to be honest, I probably got swan soup. And then asked kind of how can we help? And that was the perfect intro to talking about swans, because then a lot of people would kind of say, have you come all the way? You've put yourself through all of this just for the swans. And just to clarify, for anybody who thinks I kind of land in looking like a bit of a superhero, up in the north, and certainly after the cold came, I was having to fly with my visor up because the wet air was kind of sticking to the visor and I couldn't see. So I would land with like dried tears and snot like across my face.
Did you have this one moment where you thought maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all?
There was a couple of occasions where I had to make decisions that I would never normally make here. So, for example, as I was saying, flying across the taiga, where my 2 options for landing, well, the fog was basically appearing out of nowhere because in autumn the weather is fairly terrible. Where I had to choose between either trying to land here, but it would have been landing in a tiny clearing or in trees, or going up into the fog. And I had to decide I chose to go up through the cloud above, hoping that it would be maybe 50, 100 feet thick and I'd come out and be able to see the way out. And 2,500 feet up, I was still going through a whiteout. And that was a moment of going, what have I done? Because if anyone's ever flown in a whiteout before, you just have no knowledge of anything. And it was getting colder and colder. When I finally came out about 3,000 feet, I had little bits of icicles forming on my lines and could see nothing. Like I couldn't see the planet at all. There was just white. And that would have been the most terrifying moment of my life, but all the birds were up there migrating. So this flyway that goes overhead here as well has got lots of different ducks, geese and swans that all do the route. And so the sky was just full of birds. So I didn't have to land, but I had lots of birds with me, all heading in the same direction. So
good luck now with future projects. I know that you plan future projects.
Yep.
So fly carefully.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Det første vår neste gjest gjorde da karrieren tok